Are we good?
Okay.
All right, let's call the meeting to order. Please rise and pledge the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Renee, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Green,
Here.
Mr. Canfield, Mrs. Orthwine,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stanley,
Yes.
Mayor Morgan.
Here.
Let it also be noted that Town Manager Dunham, Assistant Town Attorney Nazaro, Chief Jones, and myself are also present today.
Thank you very much. I'd like to take the opportunity to welcome our now complete commission. Michael Green, Rob Canfield, welcome you both to the commission dais.
I'm not
Good to
the new
have
guy
a full
anymore.
compliment. You're a veteran already, Rob. Okay, we have the minutes from our last meeting on January 12. Are there any corrections, additions, comments? If not, is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the minutes from January 12, 2024.
Second?
Renee?
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Canfield,
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwine,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stanley.
Yes.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes. I believe we have some changes to the agenda, Mr. Dunn.
I'm going to defer that to the council here.
Thank you, Mayor. So we're going to move under items for commission action, item B, 2900 Avenue Au Soleil agreement to modify easement agreement. That is going to be moved to item number under reports, town manager, item number 4.
All right, so 2900. I'm sorry, you're putting that under report 4.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
report under town manager reports. So A4.
Very good. Our next meeting will be March 8th at 9 a.m. for anyone who wishes to attend. Public comment, anybody wish to speak? If not, then we'll proceed. We have public hearing. Any ex parte communications by commission members on any of the applications before us today?
None.
Very good. Who will be speaking today on any application? Please rise and be sworn.
Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Very good. The first application is 4120 North County Road.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Dustin Mizell with Environment Design Group. We're here just to seek approval for 2 minor items. One is the addition of a fountain within 5 feet of a side property line, as opposed to the required 10 feet. And then an encroachment of a pergola along the west property line, which is right on the Little Club there. And I believe it's by, I can't read it there. Renee, is it 2 feet encroachment? I apologize for the size point.
I can't see it either. They may can see it on their hard copy.
Okay, good. You can see the red hatch there. That's the only area in the pergola, the little red sliver that encroaches. And again, that is on the golf club, so it doesn't impose any neighbor at all. And then the fountain will not be visible because it'll have a site wall. Right now, it's just currently a chain link fence along the property line. So we think the addition of the fountain and the site wall with the landscaping will be completely mitigated, not visible at all. So those are 2 requests here this morning.
Comments from commission, questions,
Neighbors?
neighbors' comments?
We received nothing.
Yeah.
Club?
No.
I mean, it's a nice piece of property. It borders the fairway on number 2.
Mhm.
And it is restricted by the golf course's fairway. And as I play there, I think of the synchronicity of the fairway to this particular property. And I think some deference has to be given to the property owner, given the fact that we want to maintain that fairway where it is and also allow for, a nice and quiet enjoyment of this property. So I'm in favor
Thank you.
of the application. Anyone opposed?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to just recuse myself. Mr. Compton's an employee of my firm. from
Yes,
any
sir.
vote. Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right, Mr. Green is recused. We'll then entertain a motion.
Excuse me, a special exception. Okay.
The water fountain feature special, well, they're both special exceptions.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
try to, yeah. So could we start with the water fountain feature, I believe?
Yeah, so we've got a motion to approve a special exception to reduce the fountain side setback from 12 feet to 5 feet pursuant to section 70-75B with the condition the fountain shall not operate between the hours of 11 PM and 7 AM.
Second,
Ms. Bates?
Commissioner Green.
Recused.
Oh, I'm
He's
sorry,
recused.
that's my bad. Commissioner Canfield,
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein,
yes.
Vice Mayor Stanley,
Yes.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes.
Second motion is a motion to approve a special exception to reduce the minor accessory rear setback from 15 feet to 13 feet for a pergola pursuant to section 70-75 special exception setbacks.
Second,
Ms. Basil?
Commissioner Canfield,
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein,
yes.
Vice Mayor Stanley,
Yes.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes.
Third motion is a motion to approve a level 3 architectural site plan based on a finding that that minor improvements to the pool garden area with a pergola and water fountain feature meet the minimum intent of the design manual and the applicable review standards.
Second,
Commissioner Canfield,
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein,
yes.
Vice Mayor Stanley,
Yes.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a nice weekend.
All right, let's move on to the next application. Mr. Eliopoulos, this is 1465 North Ocean Boulevard.
Mr. Mayor Commission, my name is Gary Eliopoulos with GE Architecture. Address is 1045 East Atlantic Avenue. With me today is Christian Mendoza. He'll be doing the presentation. Anything that you do like, he did. Something you don't like, probably I did. Anyway, so as he's loading this up, this is a unique piece of property in the sense that it's adjoined to the neighboring property, which is 1443 North Ocean. We're looking at something that was in the period of the 1928, 29, in the 30s. Somehow this property got split into two, but yet the houses are still attached. So our client's property is actually non-conforming in not only setbacks, but even size. I believe the minimum lot width on the ocean is like 100, maybe 150 feet, and we're 68. And then, of course, you'll see how these two properties touch each other. This next slide that we're going to go to is just a quick flyover so that you can see it. Again, you see the property on the south side, it's coming right to the property line. And then, of course, we're on the north side, which is right there. You're seeing a little, what I call a motor court. But both properties do touch each other in several areas. And even at the end, the buildings are literally together. On the next slide, we're looking at, as far as the aerial, there you're seeing the property. You can also see the property to the south, how they were connected at one time. Again, we are minimum on the width at 68 feet. So what I'm going to describe today is there's basically three structures on the north side, as Villa 1 would be on the west side on A1A. Then we got one in the middle, and then you got the primary one, which is on the ocean. The one in the middle is actually what we're here for today, that we're doing a renovation to. This next slide that we took a pic of is actually from A1A. What we're trying to do here is it's kind of unique in also the sense that you're most familiar with. A1A is high up and then it goes down towards the water. This first villa is at an elevation of 18 plus feet. The ones behind it are at 16. So basically we're showing you a shot at 10 feet eye level. You don't see anything really beyond this front building. The next one, we actually went a little higher. We went to 20 feet. So you can see that you're only seeing vegetation. What's amazing is the one that's on the ocean is actually 3 stories high, and you still can't even see it from A1A. So it's very unique in that the depth of this property, how it is. On the next slide. So here we're showing all 3 structures. The one along the left side we believe was built in around 1928. What's a little unique about this property too, there is only one car garage, and that's really why we're here today, having this type of a property. Now, they do have the motor court, and then they got their center villa, if you will. That was built in around 2013. Mark Marsh was the architect on that. That's in blue. Then we have a trellis that connects to the main structure, which is actually on the ocean, and that was the original one that was actually attached to our neighbors. Again, the one that's in blue is what we're focusing on. The square footage, so the maximum lot coverage is the 6,929, which the documents show in 2013 you were at that square footage. We're reducing it by 51 square feet by eliminating a bathroom that we have on this building. We'll go to the next one. So this is the existing villa that we're dealing with. Basically, we're looking at this area right here, which is a bathroom. We will be demolishing this portion, which is linen and shower. We're going to be converting the existing exercise room into a garage. The next one. So here we're just highlighting how it's going to, oh, go another one. I'm sorry, Christian. Okay, so basically we're going to be taking the original bathroom, converting it into a walk-in closet. We're going to take the walk-in closet, convert that into a bathroom, and then we're going to come off the motor court, and we're proposing to do a garage right there. Next one. So this is the west elevation. What we're highlighting in red is the existing roof line. This roof in this villa has two heights. We're actually going to be raising that back portion 1'6", so the total height of the soffits will be 11'6". The blue that you're seeing is the 51 square feet that we're actually removing, and that's where we're going to actually place the garage door, which we'll show in the next slide. So that's the proposed design of this one. Again, this garage door is flanking the motor court. It's facing the other garage, which is in the front villa. Next one. So there's that garage door there. The ladder will be removed. Next one. So, you know, here's that motor court right now. So you can see right now with 4 cars in there, it's kind of snug. This being the entrance to the one garage over here. And what we'll be proposing is a garage over here. Next one. More of an overview highlighting how the 3 buildings relate to each other and how this garage would be. Next one, please. Another overview and another one. Right now, that particular elevation of that building is heavily vegetated, which will be eliminated for the garage door. And then we have our proposed elevations. Basically keeping in the same style of the structures. This is actually the north elevation. The next one being the south, and then the final one being the proposed garage door, the window for the closet. That concludes our presentation. Should you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
How high are you raising the roof?
1'6" to match the existing.
To match?
Yeah, there's 2 levels of the roof.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Questions? As always, you do a very thorough job, Gary.
Thank you.
The photographs are very helpful because I looked at this and I was having a little trouble understanding exactly what you were trying to.
So did I, until Christian did a presentation for me.
Comments from neighbors? Mr. Ganger.
Mark Ganger. The illustration here is a bit misleading because next to the garage door, there's a little garbage area. And I'm guessing 10 feet to the wall that divides the 2 homes. And I think that, and this is not for you, but really for Gary, you're going to have to figure out what to do with the garbage area, which is tiny, but it's a little misleading to show blue sky in what is really garbage.
You see.
Other than that, this is a well thought out plan, and it is it will enhance the enjoyment of the home for the owners. And hopefully there is another issue, and I won't get into it because they may not even present it. But I think you ought to take in the context that this home is really one of the only historic homes in Gulfstream. Although they say 1928, it's actually 1930 to 33. It was built over a period of time. But I'm only commenting because I think that we don't have that many historic homes in this town. Remember, these were all built during the Depression. The ones at the first ones are just before the Depression, and then ours was built in the Depression. It is, if we care a lot about our architectural heritage in our town, this is one of the few places. It's a very unique piece of property, but it's one of the few places that you really want to work on making it look as close to the way it looked when it was built. And I say that really in deference to the fact that the golf club is also going, the country club is being redesigned too, and that was built by Addison Meisner in 24 and 25. So we don't have that much history in a town as new as Gulfstream, but that which we have is really distinguished, and we ought to be darn sure that we keep it as close to the way it was designed as we can.
Thank you, Bob. And any other comments? Do we have a motion? Back page.
Make a Go ahead.
Go ahead, Joan.
Go
Oh.
ahead, Janice.
Motion to approve a demolition permit a partial demolition of the existing bathroom at the guest house.
Is there a second?
Second.
Renee?
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Canfield,
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stanley,
Yes.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes.
Motion to approve a level 3 architecture site plan to permit the conversion of a gym into a garage and the partial demolition of an existing bathroom and guest house.
Is there a second?
Second.
Renee?
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Canfield,
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stanley.
Yes.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes. Thank you. Gary, you're back up. We're moving on to 3400 Polo.
And then Mr. Merrick's decided a voting conflict on
Yes.
item 3, which I've discussed with the
Vice Mayor is recused.
Mr. Mayor, thank you again for the record. GE Architecture, Gary Leopolis, 1045 East Atlantic Avenue. We are the architects of the project. This one is also a little unique, and the fact is that we were here about a year ago with a previous project and the previous client. We're very fortunate that our client actually has gone in a similar direction. I'd like to think that we've taken a lot of comments over the past year or so and actually tweaked it towards what I'm hoping the commission would agree is an actual better design. We still feel that this is a timeless design. We did go into the classic Bermuda style, which is, I think, fitting for Gulfstream and, of course, your guidelines. This is obviously one of the approaches that we're showing here, which is the southeast. Next slide will show you our location. So those, I'm sure you're most familiar with it. We're south of Banyan. We are in the northeast corner of the Cove, and we are right on Polo Drive. Next one. Good, Christian, hit it again, and one more. Okay, so one of the things that we have here is that we, the effective lot area, which we do, we take out from the bulkhead back. We basically have 24,361. The allowable buildable area is 7472. We are at 7467. So we are just shy, and that was similar to the last project. The difference between this project and the last one is that we had more massing on the second floor. Square footage under air was close, but what we had in the last scheme, we actually had a covered porch, a large one, almost 500 square feet, which made the upstairs larger. We actually had a flat roof in that design. This one we do not, because we did pinch it in. I think one of the big things, of course, is the setbacks. So we were obviously trying to be respectful of the neighbors. Our side setbacks are at 23.3 on the north and the south side. we exceed those for the ground floor, and then we're going to demonstrate how we exceed a lot more for the second floor. Next, Christian. So here you have our ground floor. One of the things I think that's happened is the previous owner did build the seawall, took out the previous seawall, and before she sold it, put a new one in. And so you are seeing a seawall out there that appears to be high. I say that because your code allows a seawall to go to 8 feet. That one is at 5.9. So you are below the maximum height. What makes it also look high is that the ground level is at 2.4. The previous seawall was at 2.6. So that seawall was very close to grade. And I think most of you know that they had a lot of water that would come over onto that property. This is thus why it's gone up higher. Again, we feel that this one is setting the house back further. The previous design that we had, we actually came in for a special exception and had the house on the ground floor go out to 40 feet. We are well off of the property line by more than 50 feet. One of the criteria you also have is along the front side for covered entrances. They can't be less than 8 feet. We are at 8 feet. The one thing that we will be talking about today is the finished floor, because I know this did come up the last time. We are proposing to be at 8 feet. Next slide, please. Again, looking at the second floor. So the maximum that the second floor can be over the ground floor is 50% of that square footage of the ground floor. That would put us at 2,500 square feet. You'll see that we are 2,075. Unlike the previous project, you had to count the covered porch, which bumped us up to close to 2,500. Thus, this being at the 2,000 really does reduce the massing. Again, you can see all our setbacks. When you look off the water side, we're 65 feet at one portion of the rear of the building. Then we go to 72. Along the south side, we're 47 feet. Along the front, we range from 46 to 48. And then on the north side, we are at 51, almost 52 feet. Next, please.
What was the finished floor elevation on the approved?
7.
property? 7.
Yeah.
Right. And we had a lot of discussion about that.
We did, Mr. Mayor, and I realize there'll be more discussions. I thought I'd just throw it out there right now. This is your east elevation. Obviously, this is a 2-dimensional elevation, which would be very difficult to ever see in real life. Your eye level's at like 15 feet, plus with all the vegetation that we're going to have. But the front element, which is a Flemish gable entrance, maximum height is 14 feet. We are at 14 feet. Maximum height of the structure is allowed to be 30 feet. We are at 29.4. Again, you're seeing the side setbacks. You're seeing how we're trying to be most respectful to our neighbors to the north and south. Next slide, please. Here's your north elevation. The north elevation and the south elevation are going to be very similar in the sense of their setbacks. We do have a lot of undulation in this house so that we're actually reducing the massing from the street and from the public right-of-ways. What you do see here is we do have our garage doors all on the north side, so they're going to be hidden from the public. Along the west side, we've highlighted in blue, we do have some structures out there. Those are open trellises. One of the other things we've done is we've minimized windows on the second floor. Again, providing additional privacy to the neighbors to the north and the south. Next slide, please. So similar to the north, here you are seeing the trellises along the water side. You're seeing those setbacks at 65 feet to the second floor, 61 on the ground floor. And then along the front, you're seeing various setbacks between 38 and 46. Next, please. Here's the rear. So this is facing the water. Again, we've highlighted what we call in blue. When you look at that, we're looking at like 43% of this elevation, believe it or not, is open trellises and covered porches. But then you're also seeing those setbacks off of the side property lines, 23.3 being what we need to be and how we're exceeding all of them. Next, please. On the landscaping, so we do have that fig tree that's in the center of the property. We've designed the driveway similar to last time, which we're actually going around it. You're seeing how the side loading garages are along the north side. All along the front, we're going to have a 5-foot high porticarpus, and then it's going to tear down with jasmine, 2 levels of that. And then we got royal palms that will flank the fig tree. Along the north side and the south side, we do have a Calusa hedge at 8 feet. Now we will have a retaining wall. We will have a 2-foot high retaining wall with a 4-foot high decorative aluminum fence on top of that. But the Calusa hedge will blend in with that, which will, we feel, provide plenty of privacy to our neighbors. Next, please. Looking at your front elevation, basically that's what I was talking about as far as the hedge and how we're gonna have it teared down with the jasmine, the fig tree being in the center, the royals, there's one on the south and then 3 on the north. Along the north side, you're seeing how we have the proposed hedge. It does step down when it gets towards the front. Next, please. Facing west, basically we've got several date palms. We've got foxtail palms that are on the sides, wild date palms and royal palms all blending together. And then on the south facade, you've got that same 8-foot high Calusha hedge coming down to the portocarpus. Next, please. All right, so here's an overview of the cove. I think a lot of times one of the design guidelines and the setbacks are really designed to preserve the views of the abutting properties. We're gonna go through and show you how we feel we've done that. Next, please. I believe our slide about a year ago, that was still under construction. There is that finished house on the point as you're coming into the cove. Next, please. As I said last time, I really do believe we're more in keeping with the house to the south. Traditional Bermuda home with all the right proportions and setbacks that actually make it very stately and yet elegant for Gulfstream. Next, please. Okay, so there's the proposed rendering or model, if you will, on the left-hand side. You are seeing the seawall. You are seeing how it is higher than the adjacent neighbors. These are to the south. We're saying approximate. We believe those seawalls are approximately at 8 feet. I'm sorry, 3 feet. And we are at the 5.9. Next, please. So yeah, there we've actually highlighted the seawalls there, but we are now looking towards the north and looking at all the houses that are along there. Next, please. Here's a closer view of our abutting neighbors. Again, I believe theirs is about 3 feet and ours being higher, of course. In this picture, again, we originally, on the last approved thing, we actually came out 10 feet more and got our 40-foot exception. Today, we have no exceptions for this proposed design. Next, please. So there you're seeing all the views that we feel are being preserved from all our neighbors. This one being the most closest in abutting, but again, we've now shifted it back to 52.2. I believe during the ARB meeting, they did talk about that they put a hedge in because they were trying to provide additional privacy from themselves. But we do believe our design is being respectful of them. Next, please. Just showing off of Polo Drive, the different undulations of our elevation and the various setbacks that you're going to see as you come down the road. Next, please. There again is that shot coming in on the south side, south of the fig tree that you would see from the opening for the driveway. Next, please. Again, another overview now looking more from the north where you're seeing the garage, seeing how far we are from the property lines and our neighbors. Next, please. This is the driveway to the north of the fig coming in, seeing that side. Again, you would turn towards the right, turn in to go to the garages along the north side. And the main entrance, of course, is in the middle along the south. Next, please. Again, another shot that you probably would never actually really see because obviously all the landscaping in front and you're seeing it straight across, but it is giving you a good view of what we are proposing for this design.
Is that the scale?
Yes.
That looks like a football field away from the street.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're dealing with half of it, right? Because we're just shy of 50 feet. Next, please. The garage portion, you know, we're plus 30 feet away. And that's at this little part that pops up because we're trying to break up the elevation. That is the closest that it does come to any kind of setback. The rest of the house, as you can see, as it goes south, goes back further and further. Next, please. This being one of the views at the back of the family room. Next, please. Now off the south side, off the primary room. You're seeing that open terrace again. That's where the last design, we actually had covered roof all the way out there, which made it larger. Next, please. So this is not the wrong house, but it does go back to the mayor's comment. Okay, so this is the house that we did this past year, 3420 Gulfstream Road for the Gaballo residents. Mao was the contractor. This house, what I'm demonstrating here is, and I think last time I presented, I said that whether it's next year, 20 years, doesn't matter down the road, you guys are going to be faced with challenges on heights. Right now, this house was going for insurance. My owner called me, said he couldn't get insurance because of the elevation height. So when I called the insurance company, they were looking at AC units. The AC units were at 7 feet. Code is the following. For FEMA, base elevation is 6 feet. House by building code has to be at 12 inches higher, which would have been 7 feet. This house is actually at 8 feet. They weren't going to give him insurance because they said he wasn't at 8 feet. I said, you do understand that's not the code. He said, just understand insurance companies aren't doing this anymore. We're going higher than the code requires. So that's just, and I don't know who my client was using for insurance. I didn't get into that, but I was just happy to say we were at 8 feet. So I'm just showing that because I know we're going to have a discussion about that. I think one of the things that when you're looking at, your seawalls are allowed to go to 7 or 8 feet. And it just doesn't make sense that I would have a house at 7. Understand it was over a year ago that we got this project approved. We did go to 7. Highland Beach, chief building official thought it was going to change within 6 months to go to 8. It hasn't yet. So it is still pending.
Right.
And that's why we are proposing.
Discussion.
Yes.
But it's imminent.
Yes,
In like
yes.
a month.
Next,
And it did
please.
not. Our concern is the massing on Polo Drive. Beautiful house, and you do a great presentation, no question about it.
Well, great. Thank you. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I make the same arguments I did the last time.
No, they're good.
Controlling massing on Polo Drive. It's the big street and Gulfstream. It's another 2-story home in connection with other 2-story homes nearby. We do have a similarity dissimilarity provision in our code. And that's the reason I think we're so emphatic on that 7-foot floor area elevation. It will reduce that house by a foot because you're maximizing the height. It's elevated now compared to the neighbors. And yeah, I don't know. We've had this discussion back and forth. Your insurance statement is anecdotal. I don't know that everybody else in town is not getting insurance. I haven't heard that. I think I would have heard it by now. So I'm going to dismiss that. And I'll throw it out to the other commissioners to comment.
Just for the record, we are 8 inches below the maximum height, which you might say is not
No,
much.
the same discussion, right?
Right, but the other house, we were higher. So in reality, we have dropped it.
The other house, the wrong house that you showed, is at 8 feet? Is that-
Yes, it is.
So they're both going to be at the same height, true?
Yes, except that one, the whole house is 30 feet off the front and we're literally almost 50 feet. So
Okay.
there is a difference.
In the backyard of that, how high is the retaining wall in the back of that house?
I
Because,
believe that was 4 feet.
right, and so you're only going to have 2 feet on this one?
Yes.
Okay, because that is, it just, there's got to be something in the future that we can address.
Right.
That was really bad.
Yeah, well, on that one that I showed as an example,
Right,
we offset it 2 feet. We put hedges all in front of it so that in essence, our client gave up more land in order to provide planting for the abutting neighbors. So they wouldn't see that wall. Everything is concealed.
but what happens is when they are out in their backyard now, they're like up here going swimming and the neighbors down here.
I agree.
I mean, it just looks, it's bad.
On a small lot, obviously you're gonna see it visually or hear it, I should say. You're not gonna see it because again, the hedges are all about 8 feet high, so you're not seeing anything. But I agree on this one, you'll never see it because this property's so wide.
Okay, so like it's gonna be 2 feet and so it's gonna be here, not at 4 feet looking down at
Right,
the neighbors.
you're exactly right. Yeah, you're only 2 foot difference with the neighbor on the
Oh.
sides.
Okay,
And again, because it's so wide, we can bring the earth back up to the main
Yeah.
house.
no,
And
it has, we have to address that in the future because it's a really bad effect
Yeah, no question about it.
for the neighbor. I don't know how that, you got at that, but it's not a good situation.
And that's the problem is we often address these homes. They look great on paper and Gary, you do a terrific job of giving us the photographic aerial views, which really helps to show us what the home's going to look like. And I really do appreciate that.
Thank you.
But then the house goes up and it always is more looming than it appears in the application. So
Well, this lot was underwater because I live on Polo Cove and you know what, for insurance purposes, I mean, you've got to have a house that's insurable for some people. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to afford it. That's my only statement. You have to have a house that you can insure.
Well, yeah, obviously.
But at 7 feet, I don't think you can insure a house anymore.
Well, it's going to be, how about this? I think it's going to be challenging for you guys. Regardless of this project, it's going to be challenging.
To get
You know, after last year with hurricanes on both sides of this,
Yeah.
we're getting the calls from everybody saying we have issues, you know, how high should we build? I used to always say, go right to code. I never pushed the envelope. I didn't even care about pending because I said, you know, I don't know what pending means. Is it next month? I don't know. But I will tell you as an architect and as a professional, I've changed my attitude. If you call me and you say, I want to go up an extra foot, if I can do it, I'm going to do it. It just only makes sense. There are surveys that will say that it's every 50 to 75 years that we have these cycles of these tides. Well, it's in our cycle right now, and it's in for probably our kids. So I'm looking at it like protecting my clients, saying if I can push it. And when I say this, I think we're pushing it with taste and we're being respectful, and so that you're not going to see what I call a full foot. You're really not, due to the fact we could have gone higher with the structure.
I think it's a big lot, and I like this house better than your last one.
Thank you. We do too. Thank you, Kristen.
And it'll be a lot better than that one on Gulfstream Road. I mean, I don't think you're going to have the perception of something that massive.
Right on you.
This has a lot of back and forth.
Right. And Gulfstream Road does slope down. So what's unique about it, and you pointed it out, on the south side, the house is a very low elevation. On the north side, the grades are exactly the same.
At
Because
maximum.
because and so on the north side of that house, the retaining wall was 1 foot. Even though we're at 8 feet, we didn't have to go high on a retaining wall because Gulfstream Road goes up.
You mean in the front yard?
You got, no, on the sides. So on the Gulfstream Road, when you're going down to the school, it's sloping all the way down.
Right.
When you come back to the south, it's up high. So the house abutting us, we were level. It was only on the south side that we had a differential.
On the north side.
No, south side was flush. North side, you're right. North side. there was a
North
differential.
side.
Yes,
You
right.
got it backwards.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Yeah, because
I'm trying to
Yeah.
figure that out.
Gulfstream Road,
You're saying on the north side, it was a newer house.
I don't know.
On the
It
south
used to be
side.
owned by the Wilson.
Sorry, now
Yeah.
you got me confused.
Yeah.
On the south side, it's a newer house.
I don't know when that was built.
Not, I mean, within the last.
15 years or so. Yeah. But I think the grade itself is high.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It
Right,
was a
but you're
different
true, the street runs.
Right, south. When I say south, I'm saying down. That's all I'm saying, down.
North is
Yeah.
down.
yes, correct.
Yeah. Okay, that's enough.
Other comments?
Gary, can you just give me a comparison with the prior house in 3 areas? Side setback, the volume of the second story versus the previous home's second story volume, and the total roof height. Can you just give me those comparisons again?
Yes. So on the second floor, the square footage was under air were close. They were like within 25 square feet. It was actually the rear covered porch. We have an open terrace on this one, so it reduces the roof massing. So that was the big difference. That one, I think it was like 475 square feet of the covered porch, which made it bigger. And so on that one, we were closer to the 30 feet. So there we had, this house right now, we're at the 29.4. There we were 29.8, which is only 4 inches, but we actually had to do a flat roof in order to get the height under the 30 feet. As far as setbacks go, the previous one, the setbacks were greater on the ground floor because we had pushed it in and it was a different configuration. On this one, we've actually taken it, we've made it longer, narrower, so that we are closer on the ground floor, but a lot further on the second floor. I believe this is definitely by memory, I believe on the previous design on the ground floor would have been set back approximately, let's say, 35 feet versus right now we're at 24, 25, where code is 23.3. We're exceeding the setbacks by 4 to 5 feet on the ground floor right now, where before we were more like 10 and 10. But that's how the volume changed. It basically was just playing with the shapes. We were deeper on the previous one. Again, we did a special exception off the water went another 10 feet towards the water. And that's how these proportions change. This one's longer, narrower, and brought in more on the top. So volume-wise, this one is a lot less.
And the second floor setback?
The second floor setback,
50?
the second floor setback was literally, if we were at the 23, we were at 33 versus right now we're at 51 and 47.
And just one last question, the ceiling heights of bedrooms on the second floor?
Second floor, we're at 9 feet.
9
So we're gonna vault some ceilings, but they're
Yeah.
gonna be within the roof.
I think when you get massing, some of the houses just south of it, it's like a block, stucco block, and it looks huge. This has a lot of dimension to it. So I don't think you're gonna get the massing of, I don't personally think you're gonna get the massing of that.
Well, that's what we worked on last
Yeah.
time, is that, that major setback to the front door, which really
Yeah,
steps the second floor back. And now that the second floor is reduced even further and you're spreading out the first floor across that long lot, it will have less of an impact.
One of the things the previous design had was deeper overhangs. We had what you call the outlookers, the decorative brackets. Here we're going with decorative crown molding, which pulls it in. And we actually think that reduces your massing also versus these big cantilever roof overhangs.
The design's a little more consistent with Gulfstream too, I think.
I think it's a
got
lot
more of a Gulfstream
nicer.
Bermuda look. Rob?
I mean, I appreciate your comments on massing, but I do agree that Gary, your presentation is fantastic, how you point out the details that are important that we want to see. So I do think it's a great project. So,
Yeah.
You wanna
Yeah,
be in
I'm not
charge
gonna
of
hold you up
massing?
on the 8 feet. God forbid, I don't want to be the one. They couldn't get insurance because of me. Anyways, beautiful home. You did a great job.
Thank you very much.
Any other comments? Comments from the public? Yes.
Before you sit down, no, that's okay. I'm speaking for Ellen Walton. Can you show us the west elevation, the water side one more time? And because the last house, we keep bringing up the last house, the back was just a theme park.
Right.
Will you show us the differences? And I mean, that wasn't nice, but can you show us the differences and where you have brought it back to protect? Because I saw where you had number 3 for view. Can you just go back over that just one more time?
Do you prefer to see it in plan or in elevation? How do you
I
want to see it?
like seeing it as it was actually.
The area? Okay, so go to the aerial,
So we
Christian,
can see
please.
green, you know, soft scape, hardscape. And this is what you see. Thank you.
No problem. Christian, keep going. We'll go to, and then go again. Let's see. Okay, so one of the things in the last team is that this, we had proposed all hard deck so that people could sit out there. We had a infinity pool edge that basically was dropping down. We had the steps. So now we have all green, but although we're trying to reflect what's closest to the proposed landscape plan, there's a lot more over this corner here. And what we had before is these decks came out further on this side and this side. Again, the house came out to where the trellis is. So there was a lot more structure involved in the previous one, and we peeled it back and gave a lot more green.
Yeah, that's a super large pool, not complaining about it. It's just a massing green. And the house is, and it is set back further.
Yeah, so yeah, we're at 50 on the ground floor, 52.4. And then on the top floor, we're at 62, and then it goes to 75 where the open terrace is. Or sorry, 72.
It's going into the area now. It won't scream. It's lovely. Yeah.
We made that change last time because they had it was like a wooden deck that went the whole way out. Remember that? It was very objectionable to Ellen's property. And they were going to remove all that anyway. So they've done even more here to make it more natural, more grassing.
Actually, that was a good catch on your part,
Yeah.
that backyard. I mean, to make them change,
Yeah, remember
because they
we-
had the decking and it was
And we-
brilliant catch on your part.
And we were so focused on the front of the house.
Yeah,
That
we
we
were-
overlooked it. So they've made that change, which I think inures to Ellen's benefit. Any other comments from the public? If not, do we have a motion?
If I can see. I'd like to move to approve a level 3 architectural site plan for construction of a 7467 square feet, 2-story Bermuda style, single family dwelling with 2.5 car garage, spa, covered porch, trellis, gazebo, and swimming pool.
Is there a second?
Second?
Renee?
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Canfield,
Yes.
Commissioner Orthwein,
Yes.
Mayor Morgan.
Yes. Thank you very much. All right, let's move on then to the town manager reports. Water service agreement update.
Go ahead, Trey.
Thank you, Mayor. So the Boynton Beach Public Works Director is reviewing the rate structure and draft agreement and anticipates providing that to me within 2 weeks. The city is continuing to work with the design engineer for the water main design and anticipates looping in the town soon. The city has asked for our billing records with Delray Beach and our tiered rate structure for Gulfstream customers. I have provided that information. I just want to note that maybe what was providing them some pause was Senate Bill 104, which at one time was going to remove the ability for a municipality to charge external customers the 25% premium. That has since been amended to essentially not include the relationship between Gulfstream and Delray or Boynton, because it is now you can only charge that premium if you're using a facility or water sewer plant located within the other municipality. So obviously we do not have our own water sewer plant that Delray Beach or Boynton operates, so they would still be able to charge us up to a 25% premium. So with that amendment, I think that there's probably a lot more willingness for them to continue to move forward. So I don't know if that may have made them nervous or paused, that they weren't going to be able to generate as much revenue from the relationship. So we're continuing to move forward and hopefully have an agreement soon based on our communications with the utility director.
Very good. Anything to add?
No, sir.
All right. Let's move on then. CIP update.
Yes, sir. So the staff, our engineers and the contractors met last week for a pre-construction meeting for our project that we anticipate beginning in April. And as a matter of fact, we did set 2 dates. The first date would be March 12th, I believe. And that is a Thursday?
It's a Tuesday.
Tuesday. March 12th to have a public meeting that would include the staff, the engineers and the contractors. We've made arrangements to do that at the school. And the time for that will be 6 p.m. And we'll be putting that out in the mayor's letter, and
we'll do a separate.
Yeah, and then we'll do a
notice as well.
separate one a little closer to
Yes.
to the date.
Good.
People tend to forget if you send it out too soon. Then the anticipated notice to proceed for the project is April 22nd. And a slight change in the process. As you know, we're doing this in 2 phases, with basically Polo and Gulfstream being the dividing line. So the way we've talked about this and marketed it was that all the construction in the first phase would be Polo and everything west of Polo. But some of that will flow into the area around Gulfstream in certain cases, along Banyan and Lakeview. But all of that will be discussed at our public meeting our meeting with the public and our contractors. It's kind of right around the corner.
Hard to believe it's going to be here very shortly.
I know.
And you'll believe it when it starts.
That's right.
No doubt.
So it will be important for the public to come and understand that huge maintenance of traffic part of the contract, because that's going to be probably the most important part of it, to tell you the truth. So
Very good. Well, finally getting there.
yes,
Okay, waste management extension update.
Okay, so as you know, we've discussed this the last couple of months. Our current contract with Waste Management expires on March 31st. We have reached out to Waste Management to seek an extension to our existing contract. I do have a representative here from Waste Management and Barbara Herrera, and she'll like an opportunity to speak to you. What we did do is we sent Waste Management an example of an agreement for the extension. It's the same one that we used with Waste Management 5 years ago when our contract was about to expire. We did get an extension 5 years ago, and it was at the same terms and conditions as our existing contract was at that point in time. So Waste Management has gotten back to us and is suggesting that they would be they would agree with an extension, but accept at different terms and conditions. Long story short, those terms and conditions would represent an increase basically in the residential rates of about 20% or around $8. And for the multifamily, about the increase would be about 40, I guess 45% or 44%. And commercial collection, which would be our clubs, it's represents about a 45% increase also. That is for the extension, which would be for 6 months. During that time, we would be negotiating, a 5-year contract with them. And so my recommendation would be that we use the terms that they're suggesting for extension, 6-month extension for the 5-year contract. I'm not sure that they would agree with that, but so that's.
The last time they extended it and maintained the same terms and conditions as before. This time, they're
Correct.
changing the conditions, adding additional pricing up to 40-some% for our clubs and multifamily.
Yeah, for the 6-month.
For the 6-month period of negotiation. Ms. Herrera, would you like to
If you could
address
come up
this?
here.
Yes, good morning, Mayor.
Good morning.
Good morning, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, and staff. My name is Barbara Herrera. I am the Government Affairs Manager for WM, also known as Waste Management, and I am the liaison from WM to the town of Gulfstream. First of all, thank you so much for taking up this item this morning. We certainly are privileged to be your garbage partner, or as your garbage lady. I'm happy to say that, of course. So we are here today, as the manager said, to, of course, discuss the 6-month extension period. And while we understand that the last time there were no changes to the rates, everything stayed the same, as I've explained to the manager and his staff, because of different market conditions that exist today as opposed to 5 years ago, our operations costs have simply not kept up with with the economy and with inflationary pressures, mainly due to our labor charges, our labor increases, insurance, supply chain issues that still affect the way that we are able to obtain our equipment and our machinery. So there's many different factors that we bring to you today, this adjustment for this period of time, that would allow us to meet our operation costs in the interim.
Well, thank you. I mean, I don't think anyone disagrees that inflationary pressures have increased on labor, supply chain, and equipment costs. And I guess that's what we'll need to negotiate.
Thank you so
Okay,
much, Mayor.
Thank you very much.
And I'm happy to answer any questions. Of course, I'll be here.
Any questions? Well, thank you.
Thank you,
Appreciate it very
Mayor.
much. Nice to put a face with a name.
So, I mean,
Yeah, I think
alternatives were to pass one that doesn't have any changes in the terms and conditions. I'm not sure that Waste Management would sign that, so.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously a persuasive case that rates are going up, so I don't think we would have an objection to an increase, even while we're negotiating an extension, because it has been 5 years. But I think your recommendation of staying with those terms for the duration of the ensuing contract would be ones we would, at least I would recommend that you try to negotiate.
Okay.
Just to add a little background, when we negotiated this contract 5 years ago, Waste Management originally sought a 26% increase. Over that 6-month period, we were able to talk them into a 6% increase. So that was a significant victory, I think, for Greg and myself, working with a contractor who specialized in this industry. The resulting agreement included a annual cost adjustment that was not tied to the CPI, Consumer Price Index, which is what we had advocated for, but something that Waste Management argued for, which was specifically the Water, Sewer, and Trash Index with a 4% cap. So there have been at least 1 year where the Water, Sewer, and Trash Index exceeded 4%, but it was only by about 0.5%. But there have been annual adjustments to this agreement that ideally would be keeping up with some sort of cost increase. So to think that we're still at the same price that we were 5 years ago is not correct. So it has gone up consistently 3 to 4% over the last 5 years.
And consistent with an index.
Consistent with an
used in
index.
this industry.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. That's important information, Ms. Herrera. Okay, very good. Anything further on this? Let's move on then. Let's bring up then 2900 Avenue off Soleil. You don't need them.
So just by way of direction, we're going to continue to negotiate with either a 6-month or 5-year increase. So we'll do that. We do have a contractor that does operate in this industry that we have under contract that can assist us in this at least short-term planning. So if that's okay, we'll go ahead and continue to do that.
Yeah.
So
I think that's good.
we have the authority to perhaps, if that's the best negotiated price, what they have come back to us with to sign that. That's what you're saying.
So at this point, we do have an agreement with Waste Management that ends at the end of next month. So we would need to have some sort of agreement or extension for approval during the March commission meeting.
Do you need a motion from the commission on this?
So currently we have an agreement before you that includes a 6-month increase under the same terms. So we could approve that. But again, whether or not Waste Management agrees to that, at this point, we can either get direction to
I
continue
think
to
we'll just give
negotiate.
you the direction because it would need to be approved by them anyway. So
Correct. So
we don't need to vote on it.
okay, great.
I don't think anyone's in a disagreement with this approach. Yeah, very good.
Thank you.
All right, 2900 Avenue off Soleil. Let's moving that up to reports. Mr. Nazaro.
Thank you, Mayor. So this last evening late, the Gulfstream Golf Club, who is a party to the agreement, reached out and had some changes to the format of the proposed agreement that's before you. So it's continued to be on the agenda to, really put pressure on the parties to continue to talk and negotiate. At this point, we're going to have so we have 3 parties that are kind of involved other than the town. We have the club, we have the current owner who's here with council and is going to speak to some items. And then we have the contract purchaser who's been working with engineers and planners to get all the essential items together. So at this point, there are some changes that I believe the town will find acceptable. So we're gonna, at this point, direct the club and contract purchasers attorneys to work those out into a document, provide that to the town and make sure that's acceptable to the town, get the document signed by the current owner and the club, And then at that point, we will have a final document that's ready for approval and signature that's been approved by all parties. The contract purchaser emailed this morning during the meeting and said he hasn't discussed with his attorney, but he believes the club's comments are all resolvable. So we will continue to move forward. The one outstanding issue for the current owner is the amount of a code enforcement fee that will be resolved as part of this transaction. Currently, as of today, it would be I believe $29,400. It's only $200 a day, but it has been running for some time. The town sort of is going to advance language that, because we really have a moving target, that the fine that will be paid will be $200 from the date of the code enforcement order from the special magistrate until the effective date of the agreement, which is final approval at this point by the town. And I believe that if the current owner wants to speak to that and argue for alternative language, I'd invite Ellie up here. But so at this point, we're going to continue to move forward with everything. We have Jones Foster signed off on everything. We had Baxter Woodman sign off on everything. We had Anthony sign off on some things. We had Delray Beach Fire Department make sure that the fire hydrant was in the right location. We've really crossed all the I's and dotted all the T's. Now I think there's some formatting issues and stuff that the club is involved in that may need to be changed that I don't believe affects the town's position. The one outstanding item that does need to kind of be resolved before the current owner signs it is what he's agreeing to pay in code enforcement fees. So I'll provide Ms. Zacharias the floor.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Nazaro. It has been a long road. I'm quite confident he's sick of hearing my voice. We have been working on this for many, many months. I believe my first call to Mr. Nazaro was probably in July or August. And I believe we entered into or submitted to the town for review our first draft of this agreement probably in September, if not very early October. So we have been working in good faith this entire process. It has been a long road. The town, by the way, has been fantastic, very responsive, very receptive. Unfortunately, it was the club that we did not hear back from until last night. So pleased that we finally did hear back from them. So now we can move forward, as Mr. Nazaro noted. But we do have these fines that are outstanding. But again, to go back to my original point, we've been at this for 4, 5, 6 months. I would say at least 90, if not 100% of the fines that have been accruing that exist today have been accruing during that time, that we have been working diligently and in good faith to move forward and enter into an agreement to ultimately demolish the house, which I think is what everybody in this room desires. I also want to note the reason why we haven't demolished it again, and I believe I noted that last time I stood before you all, but I do think it bears repeating. This blanket easement, from a land use perspective, this blanket easement, if it's not removed or abandoned, once we demolish that house, we lose all right to rebuild a house on that property with the blanket easement in place. So while, yes, we could have fixed the roof, to spend money to fix a roof on a house that we all know is going to be demolished seemed counterintuitive. So hence we went down the route of moving forward with this agreement. But again, we respectfully request, because we have been working in good faith, and again, thank you so much to Mr. Nazaro and the entire staff. It's been a long process, but a pleasant one nonetheless. We respectfully request that those fines be reduced, in my opinion, to 0, and that would be our request.
We would have granted an exception allowing that property to have a home built on it, had the home been demolished immediately. So I'm not persuaded by your argument that had it been demolished earlier, a home couldn't have been built there. We were invested in that property.
Absolutely appreciate that. But as Mr. Nazaro noted, it's not just the current owner and the town that are a party to this agreement. We also have the club. So as noted, we've been working with the club for over 4 months, probably closer to 5, and we just now received a response last night. So we totally appreciate that, Mr. Mayor. And I'm sure that would have been in good faith, but again, there's another party to this. So without the club releasing us from that blanket easement, the town in a vacuum would not have been able to authorize us to build a house.
Well, but the clubs has not indicated any objection to it, have they?
Well, no, they have not
I think you
provided
said all the issues could easily be resolved.
as of last night. That was the first we heard of any issues that they had, or that they've even reviewed the agreement, or that they're willing to release us from the blanket easement. So the first time we got any reassurance that we're on a path forward was last night. And I believe it was around 8 o'clock, Mr. Nazaro, when we got the email. That was the first, and unless I'm speaking out of turn, if you know of one that I don't, last night was the first communication we received from the club noting their comments and their willingness to move forward with the release of this blanket easement.
I noticed staff is objecting to any reduction in the code enforcement number.
Sure. The position from the very beginning has been that we want the home to be demolished or the violation cured. And that's been consistent from the first time I picked up the phone with Ms. Zachariadis. And, I asked that, if we have an agreement between you and your owner and the contract purchaser does not want to rehabilitate the home. Why can't you have some sort of an agreement where your owner demolishes it? We get that resolved right now, knowing that any future purchaser really of the property is going to demo the house. So I just didn't understand why that was not happening. And that's the position that we took then, 5 months ago, and that's the position that we're still taking.
Right, it's been month after month, as you've stated. And nothing seemed to be moving forward until very recently. My inclination is to keep the fines running, get this thing nailed down, and then we can talk about whether suspending it from today. I doubt we would reduce it. Perhaps suspending it from today if this can be hammered out very quickly. But I think the pressure of the continuing liens is what has brought everybody to the table to date. So that's my position on it right now. Okay, but I appreciate your argument for your.
No, and I understand that your notation of it's been month and month and month, but with all due respect, it's not as if we haven't been working towards some sort of finality every day. Again, I think Trey is quite sick of hearing my voice. So we have been working diligently. It's not as if we've been doing nothing for all of this time. So I just wanted to note that.
And I appreciate you being here to speak to this issue, because we haven't had anybody come speak to the issue. It's just been month after month. We get this thing. Nothing seems to move forward on it. Had to go to the special magistrate for enforceable fines. So it's been kind of annoying for us. So thank you for coming in today to at least argue your client's position.
Hi.
Hi.
Is it all right for me to say?
Of course.
Thank you, Mayor Morgan. So I'm the property owner, and I appreciate you guys hearing our.
Can you state your name for the record?
Sorry, Bhavin Shah, S-H-A-H. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to us, Mr. Mayor. The property, and I don't want to go back into hashing out the details with all due respect. However, I think in 2019, there were almost $200,000 of penalties assessed to this house. When I think a couple of meetings ago, it was discussed that at that point, that should have been provided demolition order. And at that point in time, the fines were reduced by 90%, and the house still stands the way it was. In fact, the condition is worse. That's point number one. So there's already a precedent that these fines were reduced from what I understood. Number two, we had previous contract purchasers for this property, and they were clearly led to believe that if the house is demolished, it'd be very difficult, and the town has no obligation to allow any building to happen. In fact, we had 2 previous purchasers walk away because of that. Number 3, we are being penalized right now to repair a roof when the order is to demolish the house. So if I were to draw a simple analogy, it's like telling somebody they're going to be penalized for not having a driver's license when you don't want them to drive in the first place. So to me, the logic of that sounds a little bit irrational. Having said that, we certainly appreciate all the work the town has done, and particularly Mr. Nazaro and his team. I would simply just ask for you guys to think about an accommodation. We have been working in good faith to try to make all this happen. And if it were as simple as for us to break a contract with a contract purchaser, for which I can't unless I suffer damages, and simply demolish the house and get a blanket easement removed, which I didn't think was possible, we would have certainly tried to do that. But that was not on the table because I would have been in breach of contract if I did that. So I would like you to consider that in assessing your thoughts on the abatement request or reduction request.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Appreciate those comments.
Any further questions?
Thank you for coming in today to make them. All right, we have nothing really
At this point, I just
before
want
us right now.
to, no, I just want to make sure the direction from the
Yeah.
commission is to continue with the full amount of the lien.
Yeah. But
Okay,
it's good to hear from Mr. Shaw and
all right,
his
thank you.
counsel. All right, very good. ARPB meeting, next one will be February 22nd at 8:30 a.m. Finance report, Mr. Dunham.
Yes, the report that you have represents 33% of our budget. The number that I'll point out to you, 2 of them actually. One is our ad valorem revenues are at 88, almost 89% for this budget year. And then if you have your packet, I would ask you to turn to the last page because I'll be referring to that in just a minute. This is the income statement for the penny sales tax fund.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll be referring to that here in another item or 2.
Questions, comments on the finance reports, including the water fund? If not, let's take that last page, stick that up in front of you, and let's move on to the police chief. Chief Jones.
Good morning, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. I'd ask that you please accept the report as submitted. There's nothing in addition that I would like to provide you other than to make you aware of the fact that we, as of January 15th, are now 100% staffed in the police department. And at the next commission meeting, I would like to bring our newest officer to introduce him to the commission and to the folks who are present for that meeting.
That's great. Well done.
I would also make sure that you saw the letter from the Delray Beach Fire Department.
We did, and need to compliment Chief Jones, and we're very proud of him, proud of the service you've rendered to the town and to people who traverse through our town. It was an outstanding effort on your part to assist in probably saving the life of one of the bicyclists who was injured in early January. Chief Jones, you've all read this report.
Yes.
This is a letter from the City of Delray Beach Fire Rescue complimenting Chief Jones and, for assisting in the emergency service to that individual. I would also like to, it was in the paper, but for those of you who don't know, Chief Jones has been elected as president of the Palm Beach County Chief of Police Association. So again, bringing more pride to our small town. Thank you very much for your service.
Thank you, Mayor.
And just to be a little more specific on that incident, I would like to note that Chief Jones and another person were the first 2 people to administer first aid to the cyclist And that was CPR, correct?
Yes, sir.
Until the Delray got there. Now, it probably seemed like a century before Delray got there, but they were there, what, in a matter of a minute and a half, 2 minutes?
Very quickly.
So,
Well, the point is that the chief is trained. You are trained and certified
Yes, sir.
as a
I'm an EMT.
EMT. And it's something we are trying to encourage other officers to obtain that certification or something above or below that certification. And we have a pay scale that rewards them should they elect to pursue such certification. We have a lot of elderly people in our town, and it certainly behooves us to encourage our police officers who are first on the scene to have that medical skill. And Chief's leading the charge on that one.
Yes, and Mayor, over the next probably 45 days or so, we will be doing some additional in-house training to advance some of those skill sets that do not require state certification, but just an enhancement of training at the local level. So we have, the captain and I have been diligently working over the last 10 months or so to obtain all of the necessary equipment for every single vehicle so that we can offer those services. And we've already seen the benefit in several of those calls for service, whether it be a stroke or an unresponsive, resident, that we've been able to help by having those pieces of equipment and that skill set. So we look forward to being able to offer that service and to be able to be truly a public safety organization that can help from start to finish.
Outstanding. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's move on to items for commission action. Gulfstream School Development Agreement, Mr. Nazaro.
Mayor, before you start, I got a voting conflict on this.
Right.
Stated in the previous meeting.
Yes, Vice Mayor's recused.
Thank you, Mayor. I asked Ms. Zacharidis to stay because she's been in contact, I believe, with Pat Donovan, the president of the Gulfstream School Board of Trustees, who I have spoken to a number of times this week. I guess let me just go into the third amendment to the developers agreement. It is significantly similar to what we had discussed a number of months ago as far as the whereas clauses. The agreement now has language on page 2 in section 2 amendments AB, where that underlined section adds the language except that for school years 24, 25, 25, 26, and 26, 27, the maximum number of students is permitted to be 300. It also changes the annual payment amount from, I believe it was somewhere in the range of $15,000 to $16,000 starting last year to $19,225, which is reflecting the change in the beginning starting salary for our police officers. That's calculated on the amount of time that they actually spend sitting on campus during car line. So that is, again, the lowest paid officer, that figure. So that is just sort of an offset, which we had agreed to put in the agreement previously. So in speaking with Mr. Donovan, he mentioned that the school was uncomfortable with the agreement, which he was provided with, and it having a 3-year term because it impacts their 5-year planning. He was also concerned, and he said he was going to get Ms. Zacharidis to perhaps look over it, about whether it could be interpreted to include the Gulfstream School Delray Beach campus, which is the early childhood academy that they recently acquired. I don't think that was the intention of the commission, and I assured him that including that language in a subsequent draft or approved agreement would be, I believe, acceptable to the commission. So at this point, I just wanted to bring those points to your attention, that they are still looking for more of a 5-year for long-term planning, and that would maybe want to modify it to include some language with the Gulfstream School Delray Beach campus not being included in that annual enrollment cap of 300. So we do have a proposed agreement in front of you. My suggestion was that if the commission wants to suggest any changes, we can do that now and approve it, send it to the board, and then we'd have final approval during next month based on whatever communication I have with Ms. Zachariadis or the school.
I don't think it's unreasonable. I've spoken to them. They've got a 5-year plan. I could see where this might concern them. Our intent is not to put in a temporary restriction on the school. It is just to have it reviewed in a reasonable period of time, ensuring that traffic is controlled properly and to the benefit of our residents, that the new small school that they have across the Intracoastal succeeds, because if something were to happen to that school and it did not succeed, that might impact the school here in the town of Gulfstream, and because of some communication matters that we've had. So those are the reasons for having a shorter term on this agreement. That being said, I have no objection to a 5-year period rather than 3, so that it fits within their 5-year plan. I don't think that's unreasonable. And your statement of carving out the other school has always been our intent, only to focus on Gulfstream School here in the town of Gulfstream, not the school located in another town. Comments from other commissioners?
I think that it doesn't matter if it's 3 or 5 years. I mean, the intent is to have a communication open and forward thinking to all get along.
Okay.
So I don't think it matters if it's 3 or 5. Does anybody, I mean,
I agree with that, yeah.
Agree.
Okay.
we're agreeing to 300,
Okay, great. So what I'll do is I'll take that instruction, I'll amend the agreement to include an additional 2 school years. And then I will include a clause that specifically notes or something in there that carves out or mentions that the Gulfstream School Delray Beach campus is not included in the annual, the maximum number of students from that paragraph use of premises. So I can go ahead and do that. I can communicate with Ellie on that, Ms. Zachariadis, and ideally have a final agreement that this school is comfortable with for approval during March, and then we can keep moving on.
Very good. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Let's move on then to the last item is resolution 24-1.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a resolution, if we so agreed, to express support for extending and continuing the so-called penny sales tax that was created back in the end of November and began in January of 2017. This is done by Palm Beach County, and it would sunset either on December 31, 2026, or the generation of $2.7 billion. And I believe the $2.7 billion will trigger the need for this before December 31, 26. So what this does, of course, is express our support to continue that. As you can see, these revenues are divided between the school district, 50%, Palm Beach County 30, and the 39 municipalities, 20% shared among them. What I would like to refer to is that last page of the balance sheet that I showed you. So since 2017, you can see that the fund balance for the penny sales tax in the town of Gulfstream is $402,000. What I can't remember is if the town, and these funds are expressly to be used for infrastructure improvements. And so I'm trying to remember if back when we did the 12-inch pipe out here, whether we used any of those. I've got our CFO, Mark Bymaster, is looking back to see if we did use any of those funds for that project. But we do have money from this $402,000 that we budgeted for our current CIP project as part of the revenues that will go towards the scope of work.
Either for that or lights.
I'm sorry,
Either for that or lights.
lights,
Yes.
street lights?
Yeah, it was one or the other.
Oh, yeah, it could, yeah, I don't remember, but, so, by passing this, it would simply express, our, approval to continue that, it would ultimately be, approved by a referendum by the public. But we would just be expressing our approval for that. On the board, I'm on the League of Cities, the board of the League of Cities, and all the towns and cities that are managers, staff that are on that board support the extension of this penny sales tax.
Well, of course you do.
I'm just,
Once a government has a tax, it tends to want to continue the tax and the revenue. Gulfstream has always had a tradition of having the lowest taxes on the barrier island. We raised taxes one time, at least in as long as I've been on this commission, and that was to address the financial obligations of legal costs in the oil litigation. It lasted for 1 year. We built up the reserves and lowered the taxes again. Sales taxes in particular are the most regressive of taxes. They hurt the poor more than they hurt the wealthy. I see no need for a continued increase in the sales tax, which if extended one more time will probably be permanent, or at least risk being permanent. I object to it. It was to sunset in 26, and I think we should, as a town, show our support for sunsetting that tax. But that's just my position. Other comments?
I think the town attorney has something
Yeah.
to say.
No,
He just looks like it.
No, obviously, if we want to communicate the opposite of this, we could change the resolution, or we could just not pass the resolution and sort of take no position. That's all I was saying. So a vote against the resolution is not a vote to send something that sends a contrary position that we support at sunsetting. That's all I was saying.
Well, I don't know that everyone else shares my point of view, so I'd like to hear from the other commissioners.
I certainly share that opinion. You rarely in your lifetime get a chance to do away with a tax, usually going up. And I agree that it's regressive and it hurts the people who need it the most. So I'm in favor of not approving the motion.
Yes, I'm also in favor of sunsetting in 26. Let it go.
I agree, as long as we can keep the public works projects.
So, okay, so I probably will increase the amount that we're using from the amount of money that we currently have for this project.
Quickly.
Yes. So, okay, no, that's, well,
I mean, I think we should make a statement on it. I do. I don't think we should just not vote on it. Whether we vote, we haven't heard from you yet, Jim.
No, I'm making a statement, not saying anything. I agree, but I don't know if we want to go out there and make a statement for ourselves. I don't know. I have to think about that. How do you feel about that?
I think it would be refreshing for a governing body to support sunsetting a tax. It's not going to make any difference.
It's not
This is
gonna make
going
any
to
difference.
pass. So whether we vote to reject it, vote against the resolution, it doesn't really matter.
It does make a statement. It
I mean,
seems like government has a problem with spending money right now. Maybe it makes a statement. Maybe it'll be a trend.
at least at
What do you
the
think?
league level, I would be making a statement when I go back to the next board meeting. at Gulfstream.
All right, so we'll just vote on the resolution. Is that what you're suggesting? We just vote on this
Yes.
resolution and reject it. Correct?
We can do that. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
If you want, if you would
Otherwise,
like,
you have to rewrite it.
if you'd like to take a position, I'd be happy to determine exactly what the best way to do that would be and send it to the appropriate person.
Yeah, what do you think? Hey, just vote on this?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Let's go.
So do I read it?
Yes, please.
A resolution of the Town Commission of the Town of Gulfstream, Palm Beach County, Florida, expressing support for the extension and continuation of the Palm Beach County 1-cent sales surtax to fund local infrastructure projects through December 31st, 2036, providing an effective date today, February 9th, 2024, and for other purposes.
Resolution number 24-1 has been read to us for our approval. Is there a motion to approve or to reject?
I think a motion to approve to reject it.
A motion to approve. Obviously, you vote how you want to vote. Motion to approve resolution -24-1 in the affirmative.
Is there a second? Second on that motion?
Second?
Commissioner Green,
No.
Commissioner Canfield,
No.
Commissioner Orthwein,
No.
Vice Mayor Stanley,
No.
Mayor Morgan.
No. Thank you very much.
You couldn't approve to just reject it? Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you can, but that would be changing, I guess.
Okay.
Any comments for the good of the order? If not, thank you all for coming. Meeting's adjourned. Good point.
Yeah, I don't know what Robert's rules of order say on it.
You make the motion that you voted, you're gonna change it to make a motion to deny and everybody votes. If they mess that up so much.
But we talked about that once because, and Trey looked it up. You